So also for next month, I haven't posted the topic yet, but I know the speaker. So the speaker is Justin, and he's been at some of our meetings in the past. He actually he lives in Elgin. He's a freelancer. Does anyone know about the Elgin Tech Center? All right. Well, anyway, it's pretty cool. They set up like this space for entrepreneurs and developers to come and work. So if you live in that area, you should check it out. So he's involved in that. He's also very involved in a lot of these groups in the city. He helps run the JavaScript one, and I don't know, he's kind of all over a lot of the user groups. So you might recognize him when he comes. When I asked him to speak, he was like, "Oh, here's my menu of talks," and I'm like, "Oh, okay. So we're actually going to agree on a talk like tomorrow." And I'll get it. So, and also next month, Ralph will be continuing the series on the principles of product development. And as a reminder, the topic. I'm just thinking. So. Yeah. So, David, did you post the? You haven't posted the video from last month, right?
I need to apologize to the group. It has not been processed yet, but will be soon.
Okay.
We still are in need of getting some better hardware. We're trying a new approach tonight, which might be a new way to do it.
Right.
So, we'll see. But we will get that posted. I apologize. Hopefully by the end of the week. It's just been kind of crunch mode for us, so we haven't had a lot of things.
Sorry. No problem. So yeah, RJ is recording this on, I forget the name of the site.
Join me.
So it'll record the slides and the audio. So
long as Tim stays on the call the whole time, we'll record the audio.
So we'll get that posted. So another reminder is that we originally had 3 organizers for this group. So right now it's just Michael, Vasily, raise your hand, and myself. And Jim Tucci was from like he actually moved across the Atlantic to London. So it would be awesome if someone would like to step up and help organize the group. Talk to one of us afterwards if you'd like to help out with that. And thanks to Dave and Mike for helping let people in tonight. So, okay.
How's it going, everybody?
Hello.
I'm Veritas Corporation. We do IT staffing, educational hiring. I'm here and I don't want to give you a spiel on IT consulting because I know you guys get phone calls every day from people like me. But I will say the biggest, differentiator with our clients and with our candidates is that we pre-interview everybody that we submit to my clients. So say Ryan wants somebody, I'll meet them face-to-face before I'll let even Ryan, so like Ryan see them and talk to them. And, that's why we've become successful, is because we're actually listening to managers and directors and CIOs and learning their projects, understanding the technologies. I'm going to user groups and learning the technology, so I know what I'm talking about with candidates. And it's one of those things that we take pride in and candidates also like to see from us. So we're working for you, and the representation nowadays is a lot bigger than a recruiter just calling you and saying that's a perfect job opportunity for you, because 9 times out of 10 it's not a perfect job opportunity for you. So if you have any more questions, I don't want to take up too much time. I'll leave my card in the back. Give me a call. Again, we have offices all over the country. I'm here in downtown Chicago. We service the suburbs as well. So if you're ever looking or interested in what we have, definitely give us a call, and we'll bring you in or Skype you if it's too far and get to know you.
Got a question. Yeah. Do you place for full-time or contract or both?
So we do contract to hire, and permanent. And I would say 80% of our work is contract and contract to hire. The 20% perm, it's not that it's harder for us. It all depends on the company that we're working with. Sometimes they let their internal recruiters handle it first before giving it to us, which isn't always the best case. Because internal recruiters don't really understand the technologies. They do keyword searches on your resumes and things like that. And then just will slap your resume in there. So again, yeah, we've done it all. We do it all. And, again, I think it's differentiator is just learning more about you guys and pairing you and matching you with managers and directors you feel that you fit perfectly with and actually enjoy doing the contract work or contract hire somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to point out, last year I was a manager who used Veritas for a little bit. I was pretty happy with them from the managerial side too, so just in case you're into that.
We love the relationships we have. Yeah, no, it's a relationship business. It's not numbers for us. So we take our work very seriously, and that's why we're one of the fastest growing staffing firms in the country. So we're excited to be here in Chicago, and I'm excited to help anybody I can. So if you have any questions, again, email me, call me, whatever I can do to help. My main goal. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, hey, enjoy the pizza, yeah.
So one more announcement. If anyone would like to present on something, or if anyone is interested in someone else presenting on something, because it's a topic you really want to learn more about, let Michael or I know. We can help get that in. So yeah, I'd like to introduce RJ. So I met RJ in 2010 when I started working here. He was my manager. Most of this room knows RJ, but for those who don't, I would describe him as a technical entrepreneur. He's a developer and a manager, but he really is passionate about technology and growing businesses. So when he was talking about the web analytics, I was like, yes, that'd be awesome. So I will let him take it from here.
Thank you. And as Ryan said, I'm not an expert in web analytics. I've been working on it for about 9 years, and in the last year I've had the opportunity to spend more time in it and do a deep dive, and I thought that maybe it would be helpful for the community to hear what I've learned and pass it on. So I'm not an expert, but I'm willing to share what I know. All right. You don't need to hear about me. What you want to know about is web analytics. So I failed because what I expected was a room of geeks. I expected someone to scan that QR code. And my segue into that was right now at the top it says 0. If someone scanned that and went to the website that was on there, it would track them. And I wanted to let you know that that is the basics of web tracking, is tracking people when they visit your site or your web application. There you go. Thank you, whoever scanned it from their mobile phone. This is Google Analytics real-time report. So
make the QR bigger, it barely resolved it.
Bigger? Wow.
Well, think of it on a piece of paper. That's,
All right, I'll remember that for the next time I do this. Okay, so that was a big fail. I want you guys to learn. So I'd like you to ask questions, stop me when something doesn't make sense, and yeah, we'll get the party started. All right, how many in here, you can just raise your hand, uses some form of analytics on their web apps or websites? Awesome. Okay, so you at least have a basic understanding for either your business or your personal websites or blogs. There's a whole bunch of analytics options out there. This talk, as I said in my abstract, is going to focus on Google Analytics and Mixpanel. There's Flurry, Kissmetrics, Segment.io, Gauges, GoSquared. There's a whole bunch of them. It just so happens from my experience, Google Analytics has worked well for me, and Mixpanel is something I got to dive into for the last year or so. There's a lot of value there, and it's a different way of looking at analytics, and we'll get to that in the second half, if you will. Okay, back in the day, I started web development back in the mid-90s, and the only way I could get any sort of analytics was parsing the log files generated by the server, so your W3C logs. Really not a lot of value to the business. It was after the fact reporting. And I actually budgeted to buy a tool called WebTrends, and it processed all the web servers and all the logs and generated all these cool reports and posted them to a report server and all this crazy stuff. And actually it took hours and hours to parse these web logs. And I turned on analytics and logging on the report server and realized the business wasn't even looking at it. And I enjoyed looking at the data to see who was visiting certain aspects of my web applications that I was building, but the business wasn't looking, so there really wasn't much value. So this is really what it generated. This is a report from '99, and it generated like the number of hits for the home page and number of hits for the entire site. Really not useful stuff for the business. Does anyone know what a hit is? A hit is any resource that's in the log file. It's basically a line item in your Apache log or your IIS log. So that could be a JPEG file, it could be a GIF, it could be a PDF they're downloading. So there's really not much value to say that there's 674,000 hits over this date range. So again, not much business value here. And I've done this at least 4 times in my career so far. And the business wanted something from the reports that wasn't logged, or sorry, that wasn't reported on. So they said, can you write a custom parser to parse all these log files and try to get that exact information that I want so that I can report back to the business? Look at the URL parameters, and at least 4 times in my career I've done that. And it's not a small task. Weeks and weeks I spent writing a custom parser to get one little bit of information. So let's fast forward. Let's go to 2005, actually it was 9 years ago. Google acquired a company called Urchin, and they had a product called Urchin On Demand that really was JavaScript-based analytics. And shortly thereafter, they released Google Analytics to the public in beta, of course. So what the heck is it? It's a page-loaded, page-view-based script. So when Mark scanned that QR code and went to my website, the page was loaded, the JavaScript was loaded in the DOM, and it sent a request off to Google to say, somebody's here, somebody hit this page. So as I said, it's browser client-side JavaScript implementation, so there's no impact on your server. It's all the load is on the client, and it goes directly to Google. It's very simple to implement. It's fast, powerful, and reliable. All the data is stored in Google Cloud infrastructure, but they do have APIs to retrieve any of that data if you wanted to get it for your own reporting, custom dashboards that you maybe want to show to customers or whatever. They have a pretty wide API. And unlike the web trends from the 90s, they actually report on relevant information that is important to the business as well as for developers. And guess what? It's free, which is even better. So if you're not doing it now in your web apps, there's no reason why you shouldn't do it. The barrier to entry is really, really low. So how do you do it? I'm sorry for clipping it off on the bottom. I didn't realize the projector was going to do that. But this is it. All you really have to do is add this JavaScript before the end of your body or the end of the head on every page you want to track. So if you have a 10-page website, every single page you want to track that on, you put this code in here. And at the bottom, you probably can't see it in the back, but you put in your ID, and that's the unique ID for your web app or website. And the next line, which I know you can't see, is sending the word page view, which is a method on Google that says I want to track this event that just happened of the loading of the page as a page view on Google. So, is it really that simple? Yeah. All right, let's do it then. So, I forgot to open an app so I can show you. There we go. All right, that's a good start. And, whoops. I hate transitions. Okay. So this is Google Analytics, and I'll talk about this administrative interface in a little bit. But I created just a sandbox website. It's a fake website that doesn't exist. And I'm going to get the tracking code from Google. We're going to do this right now. So here's the tracking code, and I will blow this up once I put it in the editor. I'm just going to copy that code. And it says here, copy and paste it on every page you want to track. Real simple. So I will blow this up. Okay, so I have a simple homepage, right? It talks about waterfall methodology. It's a really cool site. I have a subfolder here, and I have a subfolder too, and I apologize for flipping off, but you're just missing an S. Okay, so there's only 3 pages, a couple subfolders, and that's it. What I've got here, can you guys all see that okay? I'll move it up here. On each of these pages, I'm just including include.js, okay? No big deal. So in include.js, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in this code, and I am going to remove sandbox.com because that's really not my website. I'm off of localhost. So what that is a restriction on the cookie that it sets. And I'm localhost, so I don't want to set any cookies. Okay. So that's it, and because this include file is included in all 3 of my HTML files, when I go here, it is going to send requests to Google. Right? Right. So what I want to do now is report on this and look at this real-time report. Well, that shouldn't have worked, but it did. I wonder why that worked. Anyway, I was going to explain, for local development, you really are supposed to add this, and then I don't know why that just worked. But for local development, you have to add cookie domain equals none, which triggers to Google that, hey, I'm working on localhost, and please report on it even though I'm on localhost. So it actually shouldn't have reported that, but it did. But I will show you by context. So you can see right now, homepage, subfolder, subfolder 2. I didn't add any tracking to say, give me the page title. Google grabbed that automatically. The page URL, you could, oh, that's why. I have some old code in here. That's why. Sorry about that. I did a dry run, and nope, it is blocked. I'm not sure why I'm getting that. I gotta buy it. But in any event, I didn't send up any information. All I did was paste that code in there, and I'm getting requests going up to Google. So that's how simple it is. And as you can see, yeah, I don't know why it's doing that, but as you can see, I have an active visitor, which is me right now. So that's how simple it is, and that's really what I wanted to show from this. I'll come back to this code example in a little bit to show you some best practices. But what I really wanted to explain is cookie domain none is for local development. So if you are trying to test it out and you're local and you're not seeing in the real-time report your stuff happening, make sure you add this option locally. Okay, so let's talk about some of the stuff that it gives you that is an advantage over what we could get in the 90s. This is one of the visitor flow reports, and the visitor flow is like a path, like through a trail. And what this is showing is how did I acquire this visitor, and where did they flow into? So this is like a shopping cart, like an e-commerce site. And everyone, no matter what source they came from, flow into the product categories page. And Google calls these nodes. This red area here is what they call a drop-off or an exit. That means that this quantity, so 100% would be all the way to the top, but this quantity of people exited after coming to the View Product Categories page, and they didn't go look at anything else after that. There was a small subset of people, 2,700 people, actually went from the product categories into the shopping cart. Some people left. Some people went back to the product categories, and then even smaller amount placed an order, and some people still dropped off there. So this is a visitor flow report. I'm going to actually show you a live one. This is a visitor flow report for a long time because I don't get any visitors to my waterfall conference site. Most of the people, as you can see, are coming from the United Kingdom and some from the United States, and everybody comes in at the root. And you'll see here that I have about 132 drop-offs, or 46% of the traffic leaves after coming to the first page. So that's pretty bad, but my site's just a joke anyway. So but you'll see that the majority of people in this thick line, they go to registration. So I might be onto something here. There's a large number of people that are coming through here. 16% of the people go right to registration. Some of them go to the sessions to see who's speaking, and then the speakers, and then want to know what the heck this is all about because they know it's a joke. But then this can continue on, and after registration, most people then realize that you can't register yet, so they go and look at what sessions are available. And then it continues on to see what speakers, and then you can continue to add steps and, get really crazy here. I'm not going to go there, but yeah. Yeah, a lot from the UK. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a free report you get, again, just by adding that little block of JavaScript to every page. You get this cool report for free. Oh, yes. All right. Here's this is like a staple in Google's overview pages. What you'll see on the left, or maybe you won't, but there's real-time audience acquisition behavior and conversions. Conversions is for e-commerce sites. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't have any familiar, I haven't done any of that e-commerce stuff. Behavior is what are people doing on your site. Acquisition is how did you get that person to come to your web app or website. Audience is information about the people that are there. So each time you go into one of these sections, there's an overview that kind of is what this is. So this is a report from actually April to October, and it took 3 seconds to generate. So if you go back and think about that server log parsing that I did, where it took hours to parse one log file, Google generated this report in 3 seconds. Now, I'm going to go to a live report in a minute, but it's just really, really fast. So what this is really showing you is visits. So a visit is, if Ryan came to my website, that would be a unique visitor. If he came back again, that's another visit, right? So if he came back 10 times in one day, that's 10 visits, even though it's the same person. So here you can see visits. In this time span, I had almost 1 million visits, but 486,000 of them were unique. So people came multiple times is what this is telling me. Here, page views. Everyone knows what a page view is. When the whole page is painted and loaded, that's considered one page view. And in this time span, there was 5 million. Pages per visit. How many pages did I look at each time I came to your site? 5 is pretty good. Visit duration, 4 minutes. That's insane. I don't stay 4 minutes on any website. And bounce rate. Bounce rate is what percentage of people came to your site, looked at one page, and left. That's what bounce rate is. I think there's web standards out there that say you want it under 40%. 18% is phenomenal. And then obviously this pie graph here is new versus returning. So that's something that you couldn't get from log files. I can now say he is a new visitor and he is a returning visitor. So let's take a look at, oh, by the way, this is not my waterfall conference. I don't get that many visitors, but this is. So this is for the last 6 months or so. Same thing. It's an interactive chart. You can see this day, 80 people came, so I must have been blogged about somewhere or something. I'm not sure.
Can you look at the reverse?
I sure can. There's a lot of stuff I can do. Hold that thought. So again, I already explained all this stuff. What I want to do now is say, why the heck are all these people coming to my site? Because my site is a spoof. What's going on? So what we'll see here is, obviously we already knew this, right? The UK has the majority number of visitors. It's the darkest shade in this map. But I'm going to go to the United States because I'm familiar with that. And, man, what a surprise. Nobody from Indiana. Okay. So I'm going to drill into California because that's pretty popular. It's actually my most popular traffic is coming from California. So I'm going to drill into that. And there you go. I get all of this stuff. San Francisco is very popular as well as Los Angeles. And you can see that in the chart. Sorry, it's way down at the bottom. But what I can do with this report, and again, no cost to me, I get this for free because Google's awesome, is I can say, that's great that people are coming from California, and my site is not a responsive site. So I want to justify that I want to make it responsive because I think a lot of visitors are coming from tablets and cell phones and not just the desktop. So I really care about California too because I think they're trendy and maybe they use devices a lot. So I'm going to add a secondary dimension of device category. What this is going to do is slice this and tell me what are people coming from which cities. So this is saying San Francisco, 6 people came on the desktop. Los Angeles is really trendy. They're coming on the mobile phones, and the rest are coming on the desktop. I probably can't justify doing a responsive site. But if I let's see. Yeah, let's stay with California. So let's see, California. I really like these guys. I want to know what they're doing on my site. So in the behavior, I can look at all the pages. So what are all the pages California is looking at? And right away, you'll see that there's a lot more hits than what we just saw before when I added that filter of California. So I don't care about all visitors. You see this all visitors here? I really want to know about California. So let's do this region. All right. Oh, no, that's crap, because now I'm seeing all the England stuff, and I don't care about England. So I need a way to be able to limit this to California only. And that's where you come into this nice little advanced thing. Here I can say, limit the region back to California. And apply. Now we're talking. So now what I can see is this report is showing, I don't know what percentage of people, but it's showing me that most people from California go right to the speakers, and then they go to sessions, and then they figure nobody wants to register from California. It's the lowest number. So what's cool about this is an advanced filter. I can limit to California. Now if I want to know, let's say, the landing page, what page did they land on? Once I go there, now my filter's gone, and I have to reset that back up again. So what I can do is I can create what's called an advanced segment. And an advanced segment allows you to segment out your users so it's not all users anymore. And segments live across reports. So like that custom report I just did is just for that table view that you saw. Advanced segments allow you to limit to whatever you want, and they persist across pages. So in this case, I just want to say the region exactly matches California. And what you'll see is, right, there it is, 3% of my visitors. And if I go back to all pages, it's going to keep that custom dimension, and now I can see my report filtered. And I can save this forever, and I can apply multiple ones. So I could come up here. Google has some that are built in, so I could come up here and say, show me tablet and desktop. I didn't have any tablet today. Show me mobile and tablet. No, how about just mobile? And I can apply because I know at least one person came from LA. So you can see only California, there was 11, mobile traffic was 37 page views. So I can now compare mobile versus only Cali.
Are you set demographics like age?
Yep.
And, gender?
Yep.
Where's this going at?
I don't have that enabled. That is a custom, sorry, Ray. That's a custom thing that you have to enable in your JavaScript tracking, and it's for advertisers, really. I think Ryan and his company would love it, but people have to opt into that also. You have to have your customers opt in to give that information up. So I haven't played with it at all because I don't even want to go there to make my customers tell me how old they are. I don't really care, actually. Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff in here. Basically, everything you can report on is in here. You know, I could create an advanced segment to say only iPhones. Show me my iPhone traffic if I cared about that. And I think that was it. Okay, let's keep going.
When you're thinking about new users,
Yes.
how do they define new users?
A new user?
Yeah.
It is the first time the cookie was placed in that browser. So if you went on Firefox for the first time and went to my conference site, it would place a cookie down, and it would say, you're a new visitor. And then if you went into Chrome on the same machine, it would place another cookie and say, there's a second new visitor. And if you cleared your cookies, then came back tomorrow, you'd be 2 more new visitors.
And this cookie never expires, right?
They do. They expire like way in the future, like very far in the future. But that is a risk. There's a lot of browser add-ons that you can do to say block the tracking cookie from Google Analytics, and Chrome's got it, IE's got it, everyone's got one. Because those cookies, they track where you go, and that's why this is free. They track where you go, and then they say, hey, I know that this dude went to Waterfall Conference website, so I'm going to sell advertising to Waterfall Conference and say, you had this many people that went to your site, and I know that, and it's very interesting, they're interested. People went to all the other Waterfall Conference websites, and they can sell advertising and target it to you because they know you went to the Waterfall Conference site. So if you guys have ads on Google and you see, oh my God, I just searched on that 4 days ago, or I just went to that website, and now they're showing me an ad on it, that's how they're getting that information. So, yes, sir.
Could you show my favorite page? Which is it's within analytics.
Oh, I was like, okay, I'm going to go there if you really want me to do it right now.
It's the one that shows you the browser version.
Oh, I'm getting to that.
Oh, okay.
You jumped ahead. That's this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a battle, at least internally, that I have with myself, with my home companies, with my customers, and with the company I work for, which is I want to keep support for browsers forever. Like, for web developers, I still want to support IE6 because there's still people that use IE6. And there was no good way to tell the business, dude, you're wrong, nobody's using it, or here's the small subset that are, let's go run down there and do a massive upgrade for that customer. Built in to this, you get the browser report. And for this site, I don't remember which site this was, but IE was at the top. You can also get what operating system they're running it on. You can drill in a little bit further, and you can get, as I showed you, desktop, mobile, or tablet. Drill in even farther, and you can say what devices are people coming to your site about. So let's just drill into it, and that is under Audience, Technology, Browser and OS. And here we go. So most people coming to this cool website for Waterfall, I think, yeah, is Chrome and Firefox and Internet Explorer. If I drill into Internet Explorer, it'll tell me what versions people are using. 8, 9, 10, 11, and 7.
Support for 7.
Yeah. And you can get this information like in a graph view to impress your business people. You get all these reports too. You can export as PDFs. So if you wanted to email it to your boss and say, look, I just ran a report for the last 6 months and we had one person that came on IE7. Can we please drop it? This will help you justify that. So yeah, good report. Is that what you wanted to see, Brian? Good stuff.
Yeah, specifically the IE, because that's always the most contentious.
It is. Now, there is a defect right now, actually, on Google Analytics where they're reporting IE, what's the latest one, 10? 11. 11? Is 11? They're reporting it wrong. It's actually reported under Mozilla.
Because the user is set back.
Yeah.
They don't actually identify themselves.
Correct. So, yeah, it's kind of funny, but yeah, it's somebody actually hit it with 11. So
We ran into that with the sounds under.
Start desk. Yeah. User agent sniffing. I could go on about that for a long time, but that's a bad practice. But Google's doing it here to determine what's the browser. All right. Real time. Right. So I kind of showed you this already. How many people are on your site right now? What pages are they looking at? Where are they located from? How did they get there? Really, really, really cool for development dashboards. So I manage multiple teams, and we were developing an Angular web application, and we put our first release out there, and we wanted to see if people were using that web app. And I was looking at real time like crazy, and I create my own custom report for real time. So what I decided to do was project it up all the time, and it was always up, so we could see how many people were actually using the web app we just released, and what pages were they on. It was very actually motivating for the development team to see that. Just a tip. It also is really good in management meetings to kind of wow upper management when you show them, hey, I built this, and look, 3,000 people are on right now. And yeah, it's just a wow factor. This one is not my waterfall conference. Well, there's 22 people on this right now, and it's all on the East Coast, so I don't know what the heck they're doing. It's kind of late out there. But, yeah, it's just a wow factor. You can get locations. You can get what content they're looking at, what pages they're on. Anyway, it's cool stuff. Throughput, yeah.
And what do they mean by person on a page?
Person on a page is what you would think. So if you went to my home page,
Like within 30 seconds, or?
Are you saying if I went to the home page, it would show me as on the site right now, and then if I close my browser, how long does it show me on the site right now?
Something like this, or if you keep your page open, does it mean that you are on the page?
Oh, right. So there's two different settings. I'm not sure what real-time does. I'm more familiar with the reports, but the reports consider a user no longer there after 30 minutes, and you can configure that. So underneath here, whoops, wrong place. Underneath here, you can come in and say, hey, I want to say, whoops, that's not what I want. Session. I want to say, how long should I consider a person gone, after how long? So if your site is something that people go to very quickly and they leave right away, you might want to set this to like 10 minutes. It does affect the reporting. As far as real time, I don't know how they do it, but it's pretty damn good. When I was doing localhost testing, within 5 seconds of me closing the browser, it considered me gone. So it was pretty cool. I don't know how they're doing it though.
Do not track flag.
Do not track flag. I don't know what that is. Educate me.
You can set a flag on your browser that says, do not track me.
I don't know. I would guess it does. Google's pretty good with those standards. Is that the standard thing to do not track?
I think the browser has to support it. Yeah, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does everyone see their Google ad profile page?
What is that?
It's, if you search for it,
Do you want me to do that again?
it's up to you. It reveals your interest.
Oh, yeah, no.
So basically, it'll say, like, you are a 30-year-old male, and you're into Linux and whatever. You know, it's, like, really specific. So, and what you can say there is you can say, don't track me, or you can say, no, my interest is not Linux, it's whatever else. So.
And what's it called?
How do you get there?
Google.
Search for, like, Google ad profile. Let's see if I can find it real quick.
I'll pull it up once I look at it. Yeah, I don't see it when I search for that.
It's a little creepy, but there.
That's a good tip.
I'll try to find the URL.
Yeah, find the URL and I'll go there on break.
It's funny because my profile at work said that I was a 30-year-old male, and then at home it was something else.
Interesting.
What happens when you leave your computer unattended?
Well, I searched Google ad profile, and the number one hit says, Google thinks I'm a middle-aged man. What about you? So apparently that's a common problem.
Or it's your phone.
Okay, as promised, I said I was going to discuss the administrative side a little bit. This tool is really overwhelming, and I understand that. And I think Google's trying to improve that. They just released an update recently to the user interface. But here's the three-tiered layer of how this works for the administrative side. You have an account, and the account is like your company. So in my case, my company is RGL Software, and you can see here that that is my account. And I have settings at the account level. I have user management at the account level. So I can say, you have access to all of my web properties and all of my views and everything at the account level. I won't get into the AdWords linking. And then properties. Properties are all of your unique websites and web apps. You can have, I believe it's unlimited properties and unlimited views, or there might be 50 views, but unlimited properties. So all of your .coms, all of your websites, web apps, everything is under there. And again, you have user management as well. You can configure the users at a per property level. And you saw the JavaScript tracking information I showed. And I also showed you the session timeout. You can configure that per property. Then you have views. Views are a specific view into that data. And the key there being the filters. So filtered views is really the powerful part of things. I can say, Waterfall Conference, I want to create a whole entire view that's just the United States. So I want to filter everything else that's not the United States, so I don't have to do any custom dimensions. I don't have to do anything. The whole entire database that I'm reporting off of is going to exclude everyone but the United States. You can have up to 50 views, I believe, or 20 views, something like that. Again, I'm not an expert. But views are very important. I'll talk about that in the best practices to have multiple views. But filters are really, really convenient. One of the gotchas, and I'll explain it later too, but one of the gotchas is views are not retroactive. So if your site has been using Google Analytics for 10 years, and then you say, hey, now I want to create a United States only view, it starts that day. It doesn't go back and filter all your data. So as you set up your sites and your properties and your views, think about what you'd like to filter on and do it right away. And they're cheap and you can delete them too, so it doesn't take a long time to set it up. Right, so what was I going to show? Oh, I was going to show you this. So this is my personal website that if you would have scanned the barcode, you would have went to. That's my name, and there's a whole bunch of properties that I have underneath my account. Under View, I have two. I have all website data, which Google gives you by default, which is an unfiltered view of all of the data that your website tracks. Then I added, excluding Lake in the Hills. I live in Lake in the Hills, so every now and then I want to self-promote and go to my own website. I don't want myself tracking and filtering or bloating my hits to my own website. So I created my own view, and let's just take a look at that. And if you go under Filters, you can see I added a filter called Exclude Lake in the Hills. It's a custom filter, and it excludes the city, Lake in the Hills, and it's not case sensitive. So now all of the hits to that view won't show any Lake in the Hills hits. Make sense?
So then is the city that they get from the ISP?
Yes.
Okay, so if Comcast's local access point happens to be Lake in the Hills, the state of Illinois, now you've just blown away Illinois.
Right.
They're not that general.
Yeah.
And the reason why I found this and I knew to exclude Lake in the Hills because I went there and I saw all these hits from Lake in the Hills and I'm like, well, now that Google's saying my ISP at my house is Lake in the Hills, I'm going to filter it out. I don't want to see that. Here's another very valid use case. Let me go to this building and let's go here. So, like I said before, Google gives you an unfiltered view. They call it all website data by default. Very important to do. This is a production HTML responsive mobile site, and it's in production. And this is a view that we created that says any traffic that comes from Software's network, excluded. So if a salesperson's on their VPN and they're VPN into our network and they're checking out our mobile responsive site, it's going to exclude them. If they're doing a demo in this training room here and going on the live site, it's going to exclude them so the data isn't skewed. And that is a predefined filter, exclude traffic from this ISP or domain that begins with Follett.com. Really useful to do if you're a consultant working in a business and you're setting this up for them. Exclude that business's ISP or domain from that. So, does that make sense on filters and views? You can have a whole bunch of these things. I can just create a new one right now and just say, whatever. It doesn't hurt. Doesn't take up much time. Okay. I also want to explain another best practice that I'll reiterate later, which is production versus development. When you're developing, the best practice is to create, where am I at here? Aspen Mobile Development and Aspen Mobile Production. You can see here Aspen Core Development and Aspen Core Production. These are a different property that has a different tracking ID. You can see this one is 2364, and then if we go up to this guy, he's going to be some other number. I don't know why it's taking forever. Oh, don't fail me now. Oh, that was bad. Okay. So, best practice. Always have a development view, a development property that when you're doing local development, you're sending it a different ID to track. And then when you go to production, swap out that ID and put in the ID of the production ID. When I was doing local host development and I was using the production ID because I didn't have two, I went to the real-time report to try to make sure that I was tracking what I wanted to track, and I was getting everybody in the production site, and it was skewing all my data and my numbers. And after I found that, it was like, that's a tip to remember. So 99% of them that I've done since then, I've added development and production, and you can see all of those here. And I don't know if I'm violating anything by showing you this, but I'll close it now. So.
Hey, RJ?
Yes, sir.
When you're writing automated tests that drive your website,
Yep.
do you leave analytics under there as a development, or do you try to pull it out, or do you?
Either, it's up to you. If you're using something like Selenium WebDriver that actually is going to resolve the JavaScript, definitely don't have production in there. It's up to you. Google gives you 10 million page views a month. If you're doing automated tests and you're doing it a lot, disable it. What I do is, and I don't know if that's my best practices, maybe I should add it, but what I do is I have a flag that says, is analytics on altogether. It's just a complete override if a customer bitches, somebody doesn't want it, the privacy concerns. I have one flag that shuts it off. So for me, for my test run, if I was using Selenium, I would shut off analytics altogether. And then I say, am I development? Actually, I don't. I default to development, and then I know when I'm in production. So I flip the ID. So by default, it's the development ID in there, and then when I build for release, I put in the production ID. And then it goes out and shipped out the door. All right. Getting to break time. You guys I can tell you're getting antsy. All right. 2003, last year, Google released Universal Analytics. Now, all of the properties that I showed you in the JavaScript code that I showed you was Universal Analytics. It's just slightly different, the JavaScript code, but dramatically different on the Google side. Still in beta, 10 million hits a month. Cross-device tracking. This is the big thing, and Yuri, this kind of gets to what you were saying earlier. Cross-device tracking allows me, if I, as a web app owner or website owner, want to set an ID for a user in the cookie, or not in the cookie, it will allow me to set that user so I can identify that user. So if you log in into Firefox or Chrome, I know that you're the same dude, right, cross-browser. I haven't turned this on, and I haven't done this, but it would only really work if you had some sort of authentication to have a user ID or an ID or some GUID or something that identifies one person. So if you open two browsers, it would still be one person. Offline tracking. This one, again, I haven't used it, but I'll kind of talk about the use case that I read about. Like Jewel-Osco has a rewards card, CVS has those rewards cards. They say what this is once you sign up for that, you have a GUID. So if you log into, Walmart.com or Jewel-Osco, they assigned you that GUID, and that GUID is on your card. So when you buy anything offline and you're at the point-of-sale device and you're buying stuff, it's tracking you. So you could actually have Google Analytics send up stuff from the point-of-sale system at the end of the day to say Ryan bought milk, and also Ryan went onto my photo website and uploaded to print some photos at Walgreens.com. So offline doesn't really mean when my phone goes into airplane mode, it's still tracking you. It means that I have the ability with things like loyalty cards to be able to track what you're doing, and at some point tie that together, your web activity when you're online to your shopping activity when you're in the store. So I haven't used it, but supposedly, and I don't know how they do this, they collect data without cookies, even if they're cleared or disabled. I don't know how they do it. I didn't have enough time to research it because I don't really care, but I wanted to point it out. That's one of the big reasons to use Universal. I don't even know how they do it.
I did find one gotcha with the Universal Analytics.
Okay.
It doesn't support remarketing.
Explain what that is.
Remarketing is when you visit a site, go to other sites, remarket it back to, what do you call it? For the old double click. It was a double click advertising network, but for whatever reason, the Universal Analytics product doesn't support remarketing yet. No, like yet.
Same thing with beta.
Kind of like beta.
Yeah, exactly.
But we need that. Google ever know how to beta? Yeah. You must have beta. And turn that back on.
All right, that's what I wanted to see. So this was that the JavaScript code that I was telling you about before. What it actually creates is a global object called GA, and you can see here using Universal Analytics because it imports the analytics.js file. The reason why I'm showing you this again is this is a gotcha that got a lot of my other developers that were playing in this. This is a developer's note. Universal Analytics uses analytics.js. The classic analytics uses GA.js. And then the global object is GA for Universal and _GAQ for classic analytics. So if you're doing Stack Overflow searches and you're trying to figure out how to do events and do all this crazy stuff, you're going to find a whole bunch of references to _GAQ. If you're using Universal Analytics, that'll trip you up because you're going to try to start doing all that and you're going to get all these errors. So the documentation, as I pasted it in here, even spells it out as well. Which web tracking are you using, GA or Analytics? Analytics is the new one, GA is the old one. So that's just a developer tip. All right, I'm getting there, getting to break time. So how does it work with single-page applications? So I told you before, classic applications, it loads the entire page, so it sends a page view up to Google and says, all right, I'm on this page. Single-page applications loads one time. It instantiates the JavaScript and sends one page view to Google. So if I deployed this as is on a single-page app, you would get one page view for every user that came, because unless they hit the refresh button, because single-page apps, they never reload themselves. Right? So what do you do? Some people would argue that Google Analytics is not the right tool for single-page apps. I could agree with that to some extent. Once you guys see Mixpanel, you'll understand. But I'm going to show you a technique that I used that seems to work just fine for what I do. I send page views when the content changes. So as you saw before, GA.sendPageView was the default that in that JavaScript block that sent the one page view up. So take that out. Don't put that in there. Send it. You can actually force a send to happen when something happens in your JavaScript. So if, in my case, I was using Angular, it doesn't matter, jQuery mobile, whatever. But when your content changes and you go to a new page, if you will, but the browser doesn't load, send a hit up called hit type page view. You can fudge the URL to be whatever you want. So /URL and make it, item page, and you can fudge the page title too. So instead of Google grabbing the page title, which is welcome to my web app, you set it to whatever you want, blue socks. Hit callback. This is cool. Hit callback is useful. I do it on my stuff. I'll tell you a use case of another one. But what it'll do is after it calls up to Google and registers that you went to that page, it'll call back whatever you put in there. So 2 use cases. I have a customer that wanted a responsive site. I gave it to him. He wanted to know when people were on their phone and they were hitting the phone number that actually spawned the dialer on the phone. So what I did is I put a hit type of send page view, and I put the phone number as the page URL and the page title as the phone number, and then the hit callback actually allowed it to continue to the link to go to the mobile telephone number and call. So he could get reports then on how many people actually clicked on the phone number on the website instead of just dialing it. And then for my own personal site, I track when people it's a one-page site, but if somebody clicks on my resume or goes to my LinkedIn profile, it's an outbound link. So I track it, and then I send them outbound. So that's a use case for the hit callback. Anybody else use single-page ads with Google and have a different technique? Okay.
I've seen there's a plugin over the library for Angular that supposedly does a bunch of analytics, mixed panel, kiss metrics. I haven't used it, but I thought it was out there.
It's pretty simple in Angular. I was able to add this in about 20 minutes because Angular has hooks to say anytime my content changes. So does jQuery mobile. Anytime on before page load or on before page change or whatever it's called, you just put it in there one time and you're good to go. It's also good for outbound links. I think I shared that with my resume idea, but this client of mine wanted to know how many people are clicking on the little Facebook icon or the Twitter icon on the footer to go to their Twitter feed. And so, again, that was a hit callback. So if they click on it, I track that they clicked on it, and then I send them on to Twitter and Facebook.
You still do that as a page view, or is there another hit type?
There's a hit type of event, and we'll get to that in the behavioral analytics. The only reason why I did page view for this customer is because they're not real savvy with the reporting tool, and events are kind of an advanced topic. And with page views, you get all of that cool, fancy stuff here. If I had just sent an event, you wouldn't even get the browser information. An event is kind of like this separate side thing in Google. So that's why I use the page view. So that it's all in the standard reports, and it says, oh, look, I went to the home page 10 times, and 4 people clicked on the phone number, and 3 people clicked on Twitter, even though it really wasn't a page view. All right, here we go. This means we're getting done. As I said before, have a development property separate from production. Determine if you're in production and swap the ID out. Create a view that excludes your company's traffic and filters, or your city if you're doing, your local blog or whatever. Keep the all website data. You don't want to get rid of that. Just in case you screw up your filters, you screw up something in that view, you can always default and refer back to the unfiltered view of all the data. This is a Google one. Just put the script tags before the end body, or put all your script stuff first. And then this is going back to the business value. Allow as many people in the business to read and analyze the data and make it public to your company, or just push it out to everyone. Because if people aren't looking at the data, they're not making informed decisions. And if they can look at this data and analyze it, or at least if you can teach them how to run a couple reports that can show them, look, you maybe add this feature and nobody's using it. It could be helpful. Yeah. Also, if you're an Android person, they have a pretty kick-ass app. It's free also. That's the icon for it, and the reason why I say that is because I told you earlier there's a free API that's out there, and once you have an open API, a whole bunch of developers jump on the bandwagon and will write apps that allow you to look at the data in different ways. So the Google one has that icon. There's a lot of noise if you search for Google Analytics in the App Store. iOS users, you're out of luck, but there are iOS apps out there that use that public API, and just be known that you're giving your credentials to that app developer to then go look at your data. So trust them, hopefully. And while we're on the topic of mobile apps, they also have an analytics Android SDK and iOS SDK, something I just got into about 3 weeks ago. And I'll just show you a quick report. This is from devices, and you can see Nexus 7, iPhones, the Nexus 4, Droid X. Same type of reporting interface that you're used to for the web, but this is reporting on screens and events inside of native apps. Pretty cool stuff. All right. Stretch, take a break, go to the bathroom, get some more pizza. Any questions while people are stretching?
In the user management?
Yeah.
Can you set up, like I noticed you're installed Software, right? So I assume that all the machines have access to that too, but they don't have permission to break it or stuff.
Correct. I can show you that. So what you have is the option to manage users, edit, collaborate, read. So, yeah.
Like you can give your customers read access.
Read access. Exactly.
Exactly. You're using the Android SDK?
Yeah.
So follow it, they have the Android app or what? Are you writing Android apps yourself?
I haven't seen this one. And I haven't done it myself, although I've been heavily involved in it. Like Android development.
So I do some Android in my spare time.
Cool.
I have a couple Android apps. I never went through the trouble to put the SDK on that. And then, of course, you're probably going to have to request network permission, too. So if your apps already have network permission, okay, you're not asking for anything extra. But if you have an app that doesn't have it,
Yeah, I'm trying to.
but here's another thing. Anyway, certain advertising networks, Facebook in particular, they have an ad called a mobile install ad. So if you hook it up, look at Facebook advertising into Google Analytics, you get a new install. You can use that to track install.
This one is the one I just added to. It requires full network access, but I think it already has that. And 3D data from the internet network. Yeah, I actually didn't code it, but I saw the code examples, and it was very, very, very simple. And the key with that is there's something called screen, and there's something called events. And I'm using both. Screens, our app only has like 3 or 4 screens, so it's not really that important. But what is important is the events that are fired. And in this case, I have a whole bunch of events like touch events, validation events, error events. So validation, there's some validation on login, and you can see like invalid username and password and all of that stuff. So I'm setting that up as an event and not as like a screen. So if your app is like something or something, you could track the progress. People make it to a certain level, send an event up and say,
You're looking at people having trouble logging in.
that's what this is. Yeah, this still, say you're having a problem logging in, I'm setting it as not a page, not a screen, but an event today. That was the person's having a problem. Good use case for events.
The other thing I've heard, and again, I don't do this, but I've heard that getting back to Google Analytics, set up a goal, like if you have a mailing list, you want to get people on your mailing list, and they go to the thank you page, or sign up page for your mailing list, you say, oh, they converted. Well, they converted my mailing list.
I think you can set up the 5 goals. I'm going to show goals when we get to the second half. I'm going to talk about events. And then setting a goal based on those events. So if a user like doing the sign up process and you're setting events at the beginning, then that's kind of, I don't do e-commerce, and this is really geared toward e-commerce. So some of the things like assigning a monetary value to a goal conversion.
Geared to help Google sell ads.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's for. So, some of the stuff.
They can help you know how valuable your web visits are, and you know how much you spend on your ads. Google spends it, Google in some way.
I wish I had time to play with it, but actually I got
Yeah.
dabble in it. Right. But I would definitely download the SDK and install it if you don't mind, getting network access for your app.
I thought about it.
It's fun. It's fun to play with. When I saw the data coming, and I know in the App Store you can see what phones are there already, and now you can see the behavior. What are they doing? What's the progression of screens they're going through?
If there's some definition of success in your app,
Yeah, then you can totally track it.
they use your app and succeed or whatever it was. So you talk about mixed panels.
That's right after the 3 to 4 hours.
And it was, you briefly mentioned the other big one is Kitchemetric. Okay, so why did you decide not to, or?
I decided not to. I have a justification doc that I take advantage of when I evaluate it. I don't remember why it didn't make it higher.
You're the carry. As far as it goes, he's pretty impressive. Keith Shaw. The guy behind Kitchemetric. He also did Crazy. It'd be interesting. Crazy Egg tells you what people are clicking on. Crazy Egg just or do you have something that does that?
Well, no, it doesn't do that. It does a waterfall comp, and I believe it's called.
I think I know what you're going to pull up.
Sometimes this doesn't load for me. It's called Engage.
Yeah.
And you see where it says show color versus bubble? It's just, this never really works for me. I don't know why.
The last time I looked at it on Google Analytics, like let's say you had 10 links on your page, and 3 of them point to another page, and they're all the same URL. Well, Google Analytics, it'll count it. It doesn't keep track of which link you clicked on. Let's say the link in the header and the sidebar and the footer. Google Analytics is not telling you, oh, people are clicking in your header.
Right. They're just saying you went to this.
Somebody followed that link.
Correct. Yeah, see, this isn't what you want, but this is showing where people click. But if I had this same URL over here, it would highlight that also. So it doesn't help. Correct.
That page out there just.
It's been up there for a couple of years. Actually, I coded it so that, like, depending on the time of the year, it changes, like, the year and late spring, early fall, and it'll stay up there forever, and, it'll just continue to. Although I just blew it, now that I'm recording this, everyone's going to know it's fake.
How did you find your profile?
I didn't.
Oh, you haven't found your own?
No, maybe Lynn, the lady with the purple, said she found hers. I couldn't find it. I said search.
I found it. It's just search Google ad profile.
That's what I did. And I got that, is this middle-aged man about...
No, not that.
Last setting for F?
Yeah.
Hi. No.
I came out pretty good on this one.
Lots of kids.
Tell me anything. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it told me that I'm a male. Got my age right. Oh.
Apparently I'm younger. They think I'm younger. I'm all right with that. People, they do it based on your, I guess, your ad preference. They think I'm under 44. 40 to 44.
Yeah, I'll pull this up. It doesn't look bad at all. right. That's good. Ad settings? How about Google? How about I do this?
All right, I found the URL. There you go. You found it.
I got it. But I mean, you got it right that I speak English.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like adventure films.
Yeah.
For business and product software. That's cool.
Yeah.
Black Spookie's awesome.
So my phone thinks I'm a woman.
Golf. I don't like golf.
I haven't looked on my computer yet.
Rock music, Salt Lake City, smartphone, software. Yeah. No big deal. Weather? Sure, I like the weather. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm glad it doesn't say something about porn or anything. Boy, that would suck. All right, you ready to
I'll
start?
gather people up if you're ready.
Tag manager. You know, I've heard a lot about it. I don't use it in the advertising, campaign sense, so I don't.
The only reason I'm investigating is
Sure.
I got a site that's sort of abandoned by my company, so I don't really have the development team on staff right now.
And supposedly you're able to change those tags without modifying any code on the.
I could write filters and scripts for each fairly small site. On one hand, I'm looking at going, maybe I'd cross over. Previously, I always liked having more control over that, putting less control into GUI. I've probably got, that's fine. If it came to me and said, oh yeah, actually, please do 20 seconds. I don't use it, then I'd abandon it. If you said, oh no, then I still got to
You still got to research.
play around a little bit.
Yeah. If I had a need to do it, I would do it, but all my stuff is generally through web apps.
Cool. Thanks.
That's pretty interesting.
When I heard the topic, I'm like, I'm going to check this out.
Yeah, I mean, I only edit that one line of JavaScript. I get all that stuff for free. All those reports that I showed you and everything. It's super powerful. But now we're going to get into some crazy stuff. This is going to flip everyone's head on how to think about analytics. What our regular
Yeah, probably should. We don't go over time too much.
I did the dry run of this today myself, and it was about 30 minutes.
Okay.
That was with no question.
Right. Of this second half? Okay. All right. Well, I'll do the Lindelof for a couple things. But
Okay.
So I'm a mayor now.
I briefly heard something about being a mayor. That's
Oh, okay.
just an FYI.
So, yeah, my daughter is
Yeah, congrats. We'll talk about it later. So Ryan, check out this page you sold.
Oh, wow.
That was in, if you look at the time frames too, we're looking at about 14 days, 2 weeks? Just the weekend. Yeah. Still 2 weeks. But yeah, this is Universal Analytics as well, and Google sent us a friendly reminder that 10 million page views a month is your limit, and we were sending 11 million a day. So we got our hands slapped. It did take about a good 2 months for them to finally give us an error, and then we're using data sampling, and I probably should touch on that. I don't know if anyone's going to care about data sampling, but
For some people, they just kind of work whatever.
All right, so we should probably regroup. So I did actually have two more announcements. I failed to mention when I was thanking Fallout for hosting us that they are hiring for developers. I'm assuming they're hiring for QA. Lynn would know for sure. Lynn, oh, you don't know? Okay. Well, they are hiring for developers for sure in McHenry and probably other locations. Boston. So talk to RJ, talk to someone from Fallout. There's a bunch of you guys here. The second thing I wanted to let people know of is, especially if you work from home, I find part of the work from home culture is like working at coffee shops. So I'd like to have like the local coffee shop announcements. Sugar Buzz closed, which was sad. They were a good coffee shop in McHenry. However, last week, a new coffee shop opened, which is called Hidden Pearl Cafe. They're right next to the theater in downtown McHenry on Green Street. It was there today. The developer approved their Wi-Fi is very nice. I was able to get to SSH at 422. I was able to VPN in. I was able to get to HipChat on whatever port it runs on. Like no like annoying port blocking issues there. Wi-Fi seemed good. But other than that, like it was really nice. The decor in there is really nice. I had some tea. It was very good. So support your local coffee shops.
Outlet funding, probably?
Didn't try Outlet.
Outlet.
Oh, Outlet. So I failed on that part. I saw an outlet next to me, but it was plugged. Two things were plugged into it, so I don't know. I'll let you know next time.
There's something in a radio where there's coffee shops that start charging by the hour. The coffee and the donuts are free, but they charge you by the hour.
Yeah, so they haven't started that. So.
Okay, one thing I did want to share, and I didn't put the slide in here, but this is a web app, and as I told you, Google Analytics is 10 million page views a month. This is one of the sites, and we're sending like 12 million a day. So that's a no-no as far as Google's concerned. That's too much data. They want you to buy Analytics Premium, which is $150,000. Then you have up to 1 billion page views across all of your properties. And then it tiers all the way up to 20 billion if you want to track that much. And they also put you on a preferred server so the reports are faster, because I've had this up for like 2 days because it took so long to generate, because it's a lot of data that they're showing. I mean, 120 million page views in like 10 days. So anyway, I wanted to share that. How did we solve this? We used something called data sampling. Data sampling is an option in Google Analytics that you can choose to let Google sample your data. So we kind of did the math and tried to figure out what would the sample rate be. For this particular site, actually, we chose not to do sampling because we would have to sample like 0.1% of our customers. But another one of the sites that I'm over the limit on, we did a sampling at a 10% rate. So what happens in the JavaScript code is you say sample rate is 10%. Sample rate at 10%, and Google then, when it drops the cookie on your machine, it'll determine, based on your sample rate, if that machine or browser, should be tracked. And once you're not tracked, so you're out of the sample set, forever that browser's out of the sample set. So that's how Google does its sampling, and it tries to determine across the board, all of the customers that are coming in, which browser should it track and which shouldn't. And then that way, not on this site, but on the other site is how we're able to get our numbers under 10 million per month.
What does it cost you to get the start?
$150,000 a year.
$150,000 a year?
Yes. Yeah. And actually, that's Google. If you go right to Google, it's $150,000. I talked to a reseller out of Naperville. I forgot the name of their company, but they offered it for $100,000, and then was going to write up a statement of work to give us some more consulting on top of that, which probably would have been $50,000 anyway. But yeah, it's very, very pricey. So use data sampling. It's a metric that's been out there, and it works. Okay.
Well, data sampling?
Yes.
So that doesn't. So if you do 1 in 10, so it doesn't count to your quota, but do they extrapolate in the reports, or do you kind of have to? Oh, okay.
It's completely filtered out.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't even send anymore, and then you'll never see that data ever again. And for that one web app, I just wish we could put an advertisement in there or something, because we'd be making millions of dollars a year just off of that little ad. But Yeah, it's for kids, so no ads. Okay. This is what I call behavior analytics. Instead of knowing that somebody's on my registration page or my session page, how about if you knew exactly how they interacted with your site? Nowadays, you got a lot of interactive sites. I talked about single-page applications. You have very client, rich, heavy sites that have accordions and drop-downs and all these crazy things and controls that really never cause the page to load. So behavior analytics is a way to know how people are interacting with your site. One thing as an interaction is, what if you could send Google when somebody scrolled down past the fold of your page? So they did the scroll event, and you detected they were down at the bottom of the scroll, sent an event up, and somebody looked at the bottom of my page. There was an article I just read that a guy had a blog, popular blog, and the comments are always down at the bottom in the blog. So what he did is he added some analytics tracking to say, once a user goes down to read my comments, send an event that people are reading the comments. And what he found out was less than 1% of the people even looked at his comments. And so he disabled comments, right? But he wouldn't have known that if he didn't track the behavior of how people used your site. Another example is if you had a shopping cart site and you had an add to cart button in a search result list versus when you go to the product detail page, there's an add to cart button. You can track those differently. So how many people are clicking on it in the search results and how many are doing it inside of the item page. So I'm almost done with Google. Google recently introduced events, and I shouldn't even say recently. They probably did it 2 years ago. But events are independently tracked from a page load. So completely independent. It's in beta still, I think. This is an old slide. And they have limited reports to display and filter the event data, and I'm going to show you some examples. So here's how it's done. So you set a category for the event, you set the action, you set a label, and then optionally you set a value, a numeric value related to that action. Sorry, it's at the bottom of the page. So you send, hit type as event instead of page view. The category, in this case, I just called it item. The event action was add to cart, and the event label was, I don't know, the valuable button. And then I put a value of 3 on it, which means nothing. But so that's how you would send an event to Google. Very simple. You're in JavaScript land anyway, so you can pretty much track anything you want. Right. So you use events in conjunction with page views. So don't get rid of the page views. Keep that going. Use the events to send up user interaction. There's limited reports. Here's showing you the event report. Whoa. Under behavior, I have events. This site sells, it's like a shopping cart site in a way. So there's an event, sorry, it's at the bottom. There's an event here called buy. So they click the buy button. And then the action was click. And then the label was the product they clicked on. So Fart Candle, Perv the Elf. Oh, bold answer, Stacy. So what I'm able to track here is the events on what things are they clicking on, right? So this is just, wow, I'm going to close this.
Promotional.
Right. So another thing is talking about goals, and I don't remember who came up to me and we had a discussion about goals, but what you can do is you can set up a goal to be based on an event. You can also set up a goal to be based on a page view as well, but in this example I'm showing you a goal set up on an event. So in this case, that wonderful site I was showing you that has an event called buy with an action of click, and I didn't care what the label was, I can put a monetary value to that and that conversion. So if somebody clicked on buying, the pole dancer, I say 10 cents. That's worth 10 cents to me. So what this site is a reseller site, if you've heard of it, like Commission Junction or whatever. It's a whole bunch of products, and when you click on it, you just go to someone else's site, and I get commission off of that. So I'm just putting a 10-cent value on that click. So what you can do in all the standard reports, and this is the location report, you can see on the right here, I have conversions, how many people converted and clicked buy. So this is my goal, that one that I set up. So you can see 100% of the people from Armenia.
All one of them.
Is that where Horace is from? Bought it. So that's not really valuable to me because I don't really care about one person. So I'm going to actually come in here and say that what do I want to say? I'm going to say the visits is more than 10. Let's say 20. So what I'm doing is I'm filtering out the outliers, the people that came and clicked one time. And now you can see that Belgium is up there in my report. But if I sort it here, 41% of the people that come in from Belgium click on the buy. You can see a larger number here. This is United States. 37% of the people from the United States are actually clicking on that buy button, which is causing a conversion, which is causing a goal to happen. So, yeah. Anyway, hopefully that makes sense. So that's one way to do an event. And again, like I said before, this goal, you can set up goal conversions for pages as well. So if you have a sign-up page, maybe somebody signs up to receive your newsletter like someone mentioned, or if you had to sign up to get a free subscription to your product or app, maybe your final sign-up page is called thank you page. You can say, I want to set up a conversion to say if somebody goes to thank you page and makes it that far in the sign-up process, I want to consider that a conversion and put a monetary value on it of 5 cents or whatever.
And conversion is basically something happened in an advertising sense. It's nothing to do with religion. When I first heard that, I'm like, what are they talking about?
and the other thing that I want to point out too, I had some good discussions on the break, but my aspect in coming into this is in the web development world and web app world, not from an advertising world. And the tool is really meant so that you buy more advertising in Google is really what it's for. And I'm using it in a way that I guess wasn't really intended, but it's free and it's very useful, so I'm going to continue to use it my way. Okay, let's talk about Mixpanel. 2009, startup company. It's even a more comprehensive tool that allows you to measure any action it takes, customer takes in your app, and the reporting engine is really, really cool. Google is very overwhelming, as you saw from some of those screens. This reporting engine that Mixpanel has, your product person at your company could do it, which is good, so they don't come to you to generate reports. Yeah, it's really cool. So, again, implementation is very simple, just as simple as Google, and we're going to actually do it here in a minute. But the difference with this, with Mixpanel, you can't just say, and I heard this actually, and I got furious because I heard someone say, yeah, that developer is going to do Mixpanel and put Mixpanel in that app. I'm like, the developer doesn't define what Mixpanel is. The company has to define what they want to track. So that's where the upfront planning comes in. I mean, the business really needs to know what they want to track before you start. And the developer shouldn't define it because it's not free, and I'll get to that. And you could really report on stupid stuff that's not even valuable to the business. So let's get into it. This is a student and a parent and a teacher portal screenshot of an iPad responsive application. You wouldn't know it, but it's a single-page app, and there's a lot of interactions that you already have on this site right here. And I'm just going to show you or tell you what a couple of them are. When you click on this flyout menu, a JavaScript menu flies out here, and you have a navigation menu. So there's something that I can track, right? It's not a page view. I can track it as a Google event too, but in this case, Mixpanel was my best option here. This actually is an announcement, and if you click on it, it brings up a dialog and shows you the full announcement. This is a download link to a progress report for a student. If they click on that, again, it doesn't trigger a page load. It triggers a download, so I can track that. This resources at the bottom is a clickable hierarchy tree that goes up and down, and so I can track how many people are interacting with this JavaScript tree. Big one here is go to full site. I'm in the iPad. I give the option to go to full site. It has more options in the full site, so this is another thing that I can track. So, Mixpanel uses events. And an event, don't think about it as a Google event. An event is any meaningful interaction with your site. The user clicks on the download progress report. That's an event, right? Properties is where it really gets awesome. Properties is anything you want to send along with that event. Anything specific to the user or specific to that event or anything you want to send up to Mixpanel when that event occurs. So, and I'll get back to events in a second. Planning. If you're going to get into Mixpanel, definitely really think what you're going to do. I suggest creating an event map, and that is something that can be given to the business. They can create it, and then the developer can take that, and that's their roadmap for how they have to code it. An event map containing the name explaining when does it fire, when am I supposed to send that up to Google? When I scroll down in my search results, in my infinite scroll list, and it loads 25 more, send an event. And the properties. What are the names and values of the properties and examples? So here's an example here. My event name is download. When does it fire? When the user taps download a file. And I'm going to pass up with that property the file type. So what was the type of file? An example is PDF. And the file name. What was the file name of the report? Fall report. Here's an event map, a real one actually, that I used in this product that I already showed you. One of the most important ones here is the login event. So when a user logs in and authenticates into the system, it sends up what type of user are they? Are they a staff? Are they a student? Are they a parent? In this case, it's the version of the product, and this is the school district name. So all of that gets sent up to Mixpanel. Log out full site. Believe it or not, full site was, and I'll get into the details on that, but was one of the ones that I wasn't going to track because it was kind of difficult to do, but it ended up being very, very valuable. So another thing I wanted to share here is error. We have this global handler in JavaScript to catch all global errors. What I decided to use is Mixpanel to fire error events off if an error is detected, and it sends the page and the status and the message and the method that called it. Angular has some nice hooks into when errors occur. So this was for the developers, not for the business, but it was kind of a neat way to know when customers are getting JavaScript errors out in the field. So here we go. Same kind of thing as Google. You have a whole boilerplate block of text. It creates a Mixpanel global object, and your ID is the unique ID of your website and your web app. Same thing. But if you notice, it's not doing anything else. It's not saying Mixpanel.send event or send page view. It's just, now I have this object sitting here, and now you do whatever you want with it. Right. So then, here's the event you want to fire. Mixpanel.track. What is the event name? We talked about this before, the download event. Here's the properties I'm sending along file type. However you're going to get the file type, it has to be in JavaScript land. You have to have access to it somewhere. So pass it on up. File name, somehow get the file name. Now I have that event with these properties sent up to Mixpanel. Make sense? Good deal. So is it really that simple? It is very simple to implement, but let's do it. Oh, sucky. That's not good. Yes, I did. Okay, much better. Let's not go to costly meeting. Let's go to one of my other ones. How about the sandbox that I made? Okay, so this is Mixpanel's interface, and believe it or not, if you're interested in Mixpanel, YouTube, Mixpanel, and they have really, really good tutorial videos on YouTube. I'm not going to play them here, but it's telling me for my sandbox, I haven't received any data yet, so I got to set this thing up. And really tough setup. Here it is, and I copy it. And it's telling me right now we have not received any data yet.
What are the libraries for that? It says right there, select language.
Oh, Android, iOS, Python, PHP, Ruby. Ruby? Is that what you wanted to see?
I didn't know that was there.
Sure.
Question, Rick.
Yeah.
Have you done any of the backend integration with any of these?
No, and I think I told you about this last time. I strongly recommend, discourage against, there's a Google Analytics Java implementation that allows you to do server-side analytics using Google. And I strongly disagree with the whole entire thing. For so many reasons, it's just wrong. It wasn't really meant to be a server-side library. It's meant to be a client-side library. So if you have to imagine what that Java library is doing in order to make requests to HTTP, when an HTTP request comes into your server, it's making another one to Google to tell it whatever it wants to tell it. So I have not played with it, but keep server-side and log files and whatever you want, and keep client-side, client-side. The beautiful thing about distributed, I showed you we have a very busy web app. Distributing your analytics across all the devices of all your users is much better than trying to have a server trying to track all the analytics of all of your users from everywhere. But if you do it, you can do a talk on it. But I'm definitely not going to do it. Okay, so I copied that code, and all I'm really going to do for this example is I'm going to put it on just the home page. All right, nasty boilerplate code, but here's the kicker. Here's this key here, and this key is for my production sandbox. Right, so what do I want to track? So my site really isn't anything, but I do have this awesome waterfall graphic. So maybe I care when the user is trying to read what this is and they put their mouse over the graphic, right? Maybe I give a crap about that. So I already have a nice ID on there called waterfall, and I already have the code here, so I'm just going to uncomment it because I don't feel like typing. So all it's going to do is basically say, I'd mouse over. I'm going to console log. I guess I didn't do that in there. But it's going to say mixpanel.track, mouse over. My custom property is true and global tracking is false. I don't know. I just made it up. There's no real. Put it in here to have two properties. So if I refresh the page, I can open the DevTools, Ryan. Do you remember?
Control-Shift-J.
Control-Shift-J. I needed that the other day. Okay. My console, let me load it again. And, uh-oh, my console's not working.
You're in the console with console. Hit escape. There you go.
There it is. All right, so you see that my on-mouse over event was fired? And I can do it again and again and again and again. Now, in Mixpanel, it says, hey, great, we received events from you. Mixpanel is 100% real-time. So Google has a real-time report engine, like it has a couple reports. Everything is real-time. So it knows I've got events, great, so I can move on. And now you can see that I fired 8 mouse over events, and you can see down at the bottom, sorry about bottom, but it's showing me mouse over events, and I can continue to do that. Okay, that's enough. And there it is. I just sent 40 or so. Success! We just added our first Mixpanel event. And you can see the property, and they were all set to true because I set it to true. I didn't do any randomization, but that's how you're able to see the value of the property. You'll notice also all of these other things like city and McHenry, and you'll see refers and operating systems and all that other fun stuff. Yeah, that's given to you for free. The tough thing about teaching people about analytics, or Mixpanel, is everybody's use case is different, right? In this use case, maybe mouse over is important to me, and I don't know what properties I would want to track on the mouse over, but everybody's use case is different, so I can't really define what will work for you. But what I will show you is my experience and some of the examples that how I used it in that web app that I showed you for students and teachers and parents. So let's get into that. Oh, let's not yet. Let's go to super properties. Super properties. I should have put a Superman logo here. Super properties are properties that are passed along with every event request automatically. You don't have to do anything special. In my case, I care when they log in. I want every event to tell me if they're a student or a parent or a staff member. And I want to know, on every single event, I want to know what version of the app they're using and what's their district name. So in this case, it's mixpanel.register, user type, and again, you can say whatever you want. This can be anything. And I get the user type off of my user service, and I get the version of the cookie, and I get the district name here. So super property is very convenient. Set them right away in the beginning of your app, and every event after that will pass those up as well. Okay, so the business came to me. The way this worked is I implemented Google Analytics because it was very fast to do with Angular, and it was very quick. So they were looking at the Angular or the analytics reports in Google and saying, now I want to know how many people go to full site. And going to full site, the full site app didn't have analytics in it, so it was just a drop-off. They didn't know what was happening. They also wanted to know what types of users are going to go to full site, and they want to know how fast are they jumping out of the tablet interface. Are they even looking around, or are they just saying, screw this, I'm going to the full site? So again, there's this big full site button here, and when you hit that, it just loads another page, and you're gone. So here we go. Here's a Mixpanel report. For this date range, 4,000 people fired the login event. So as you saw in my event map before, I fired an event called login when they successfully log in. It says login, and it passes some properties up. Then here's the event for full site. So when they click on full site, I have a callback after it sends the call to Mixpanel. It calls back and says, okay, now you can go to full site because I tracked the fact that you wanted to go there. And I actually have some retry logic in there, some logic in there to say if Mixpanel doesn't come back within 3 seconds, take them there anyway and forget about it. So there's some fail-safe in there. In any event, what I'm seeing here and the business sees is 78% of the people in these 4 days went to full site. Well, that's a bad thing because we spent a lot of money to make this iPad app, and now everyone's leaving. What the hell? So then I was able to then say, show me the full site event, which is down here that I showed you, and by user type. So that user type was a super property that I had set when they authenticated in, and now I can see student, staff, family, and other. Who's going to full site and what percentage? And I see student is almost the highest, and family is almost the highest, and ironically enough, we built this web interface for family and students. And what I found out shortly after implementing this was that's the people that were going to full site. And staff, there's literally 2% of the features are for staff, and others administrators. And if you look, students in 14 seconds, they were out of there. Gone, right? That's pretty sad. So what this really created was more questions for the business. What are people doing in the full site that they need to do in the mobile app? Because the full site UI is old and archaic, and the mobile app is mobile friendly and pretty. So they're obviously on a mobile device, and they're going to this big archaic full site. That's what pushed the business to say, we want analytics in the full site. And this report actually generated the business to say, shit, we really want this in here. It's really important. What are they doing? So powerful stuff. I initially thought maybe there's something wrong with our user interface and it's not displaying properly on a specific device. So I ran a report by device as well to see if maybe like iPads, everybody was going in because it didn't display properly or something, and it was pretty even across the board. Although it did take BlackBerry users 37 seconds. So, but I don't think that had anything to do with our app, though. Yeah. Default properties come automatically. So you get the browser, the city, the country, the device, all this fun stuff that you don't have to send up. Mixpanel tracks that for you. Here's another kicker. So the business wanted to know how many students, so that's a kicker right there. Right there, as soon as they say students, now I know I need to filter that login event by students only, right? How many students open the homework details of a homework assignment? How many actually download the homework attachment? And then what type of attachments are being used out in the field? Because we don't know. We allow them to upload pictures and PowerPoint and all this fun stuff. So here's where you're going to find out where planning bit me in the butt. So this is the user interface for Tyler. He has an assignment due this day. This is a modal dialog thingy that popped up when he hit the assignment. And an event is fired as soon as this pops up and says, I'm in the homework detail screen. If he were to click on this document to download it, it would fire another event to say he downloaded the attachment. So that's what the business really wanted to know. How many students are actually doing this? So here, this is the user interface of Mixpanel. And this is a funnel. So there's 3 steps in this funnel. And you can configure this however you want. In this case, I said somebody fired the login event, and their user type was a student. So step 1. Step 2 is they went to the homework details. So they got that pop-up screen dialog. Step 3 is homework attachment was fired, and the attachment is set. So basically, attachment type is a property on that event that we set. So this report is going to tell us how many people download the attachment. This is the actual download event. By the way, these can be anything you want. They're just strings, and these can be anything you want too. We just had some conventions. So here's what we found out. So in this 4 days, we had 3,400 students log into the system. 3% of them open the homework detail box. That's really low, right? From that, 18% of those people downloaded an attachment. That's really bad. Nobody wants to see a .55 completion rate, right? why did we even do this feature if no one's ever going to use it, right? Well, here's the kicker that is a flaw in my planning. What I don't know in here, and I don't know if anyone knows it, but what I don't know in here is if this homework detail actually had an attachment, right? So I could have a homework assignment with no attachment associated with it. So in this case, when I go back, I should have added an event, or a property to this event to say this homework detail has an attachment. And then I can run this report and say, okay, how many of the people that looked at a detail screen that had an attachment actually downloaded it? And I guarantee you it would have been more than 18%. It would have been a lot more, probably even 100%. But since in my planning I didn't think ahead to what the business wanted to know, actually I knew what they wanted, but I did it wrong. But in any event, that's where the planning comes into play. Okay. Oh yeah, here we go. And then this is the popular documents, which didn't tell me anything, but the business wanted to know it, so they got it. Okay, here was another kicker. This one actually caused a statement of work with a design company to redesign the login interface. As I said before, the Google Analytics was in place 6 months before Mixpanel, and they were looking at the reports a lot, which was good. I did my job. I went on a promotional tour to say, go Google Analytics. They were saying, how come Google Analytics shows us 2 times the users go to log on at home? So here's 2 events. The mobile login is the screen that presents, enter in your credentials. That's this screen here. So 50,000 people went there. Home is where they go after they successfully log in. And there's only 26,000. That's a huge amount, right? So that's telling me that people are getting to that login screen and they're not logging in. Like 50% of the people aren't able to log in. So we sat down, we kind of figured out all of the stuff we could do around login to track what the heck they're doing. There's like a reset password thing, there's a forgot your password button, there's all this other crazy stuff going on. So we put Mixpanel events on everything that they could do. So one thing we did is we tracked when authentication errors or JavaScript errors occur. We have validation that says you have to have a password, you have to have a username. And then if the server returns an error, like, hey, you didn't authenticate correctly or your account's disabled or something, a dialog comes up and tells them that. So we tracked that event. And what I found out was that's the problem, is they're unable to get in because of the error messages. So login error is not an error like a bad thing. It's like invalid password and all that. So I ran a funnel report that said, the title of it, I said, the users receive any error on login, but then they eventually get to login. So the event here is login error, and I said if there is a message sent. And then step 2 is they're able to log in. Let's see. So what I found in this 4-day range is 52% of the people, after they receive an error, they're eventually able to log in. That still sucks, right? So that means that 48% of the people received an error and they never were able to log in. Again, this is why I triggered the business to actually do a use case and a study on the login screen. Then I said, well, what is the message they're getting, right? Because I was passing that up to Mixpanel. So I did a by message, and number 1, like by far, invalid log. So they forgot their credentials. You're expired, you must enter a password, I don't know, account's disabled, blah, 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 blah. But these are little outliers. But here's your big one, invalid login. So then I said, let me look by city, because maybe there's specific instances of this application out there, and the schools aren't doing a very good job communicating the kids' credentials. And what I found out is, Boston! 40% of all of the total errors came from Boston, which is huge, right? Then I said, well, I only really care about this invalid login thing because all the other ones are just noise, right? It's just very, very small amount. And I also wanted to see by device. So maybe there was an issue with Boston area with an iPhone. So what I found out is, nope, people in Boston just can't figure it out. And what it actually is, and this is kind of skewing this report, and I joke about Boston, but Boston is one of our largest customers, and they send like 50% of our traffic, which is why they generate 50% of the errors. But what they could do is help inform their users what their username and password is. Okay.
Can you set up a report that weights the errors by the size of the population?
No. not in Mixpanel anyway.
That'd be useful.
Sure. By the quantity, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For the step UI,
Yes.
that didn't have to happen right away. I mean, they could have sat on the page for 30 minutes.
Yep. Yep. This is just
different things that happen.
correct. They received this error and then they logged in. Right. All right. Let me. As I said before, everything is live. So I'm going to actually take you to the one web app that I'm using it in, and let's see if any students or people are in. And here you go. So 2 seconds ago, somebody logged in on iOS, and they were a student, and they came from this public school, and you can see people are firing events right now as we speak. Lo and behold, full site. Here it is again, right? So this person was a, I can't even see where that's at. Doesn't show. iPhone, but it doesn't show what the user type is. I think super properties isn't deployed yet. So this is the super property of the user type that I was showing you here, a student, wasn't deployed yet to production in the school, so I'm not able to see that here. So you can see the value of tracking that with all the events, is I can't tell who went to full site in this case. But the funnel report, I got a whole bunch of them here, but here is this login and go to full site, and we're doing better, as you can see from when I reported that earlier. And you can see now 53% of the students are going to full site. We've made improvements to the application since that report, and you can also see that it's downward trending as well. So what we're finding out is as the students realize that web app, the mobile site has what they need, they're not leaving anymore. They're staying in it. And as we deploy releases and iterate over and add more features for the students, we expect this to go down more and more and more and more and more. So pretty cool. And like I said, this interface is real easy and to understand. Yeah, I wonder if this homework attachment thing. Yeah, it's not looking good. Okay, so data is stored, unlike Google that just loves your data and wants to have it forever. Mixpanel stores your data for 3 years. They do have an API also to retrieve the data if you want to grab it out of there. It's 100% real time, which I already showed you. There's about a second delay, give or take. All the event data that's tracked is reported on. So here you go. It's free up to 25,000 events per month, which is actually a lot, considering. One thing that I strongly recommend for people wanting to get into analytics, Mixpanel, is try it with the free and track one thing. Pick something on your web app or your website and put a couple events around it. Don't pick your most popular thing or what you obviously know the purpose of your app is to do this, and pick some other side thing, or maybe do it on the side if somebody in the business says they want you to add this stupid thing and you're like, no one's ever going to use it. Slam it in there because you won't use 25,000 events unless you coded it wrong or that feature is really used a lot. And what I recommend is leave it in there for a short amount of time. Once you report on something and you realize that we have a problem with the logon screen, like what we had and people weren't unable to authenticate, once you track all that data and it's not valuable to the business anymore, take it out because you're paying for every event that's fired. So 3 months, 6 months, pick your testing time frame that you want to analyze your user's behavior and then get rid of it. This is when I wrote this slide, I don't know when, but this is how much it used to cost. 2 million events is $350 a month. So it does get pricey. I think
That's current.
that is current.
I'm looking right now.
Yeah, I think, oops, Aspen Mobile Dev, we're going to get to that in a second. There it is. I think we're at a lot. We're sending about, login events, we're about 43,000 a day. So we're sending quite a bit. This is the live report of the trends over time of all of the events that I'm sending up. So we're actually on the plan that's this $350 a month plan with 2 million events. I could probably talk to the business and shut off some of these events because nobody's really looking at this stuff. When they ask me a question, I go and do the report, which is a no-no. But 2 people in the business use it. The rest of them aren't looking at it. So I don't know if it's worth $350 a month.
So you're shutting them off in the admin app?
Say that again?
You're shutting them off in the admin app, not in your code?
No, you have to do it in the code. You have to shut it off in the code. So you're just removing all of that code out for the event tracking. And what that really means, as you saw in my source code, is you're just not calling this anymore.
So if you're shipping code, it's probably real important to give a way to turn it all off
Absolutely.
at runtime.
Absolutely. And that's part of the best practices that I talked about with Google Analytics, is first have a major property or some way to shut it all off completely, and then have a property to say, am I in production or development, and change the IDs so you're not skewing this. And also that 25,000 free is per, what do they call this? Per project. So if you have a dev project, that gets 25,000. If you have a production project, that gets 25,000. And yeah, it goes up. So Shelly's looking at it. It goes millions and millions and millions. You can spend a lot of money on this. Okay, so the best practices here is have a separate production from development. We talked about that. If you accidentally start posting production prior to go live, there is a data reset for the project, and I'll just show you that. It's kind of a neat feature, and that's how I did for this demo of this mouse over thing. It's kind of nice that you're able to reset the project data, right? And so now I'm reset, and it's going to say, hey, dude, you don't have any data. So it's kind of a nice feature, but don't do that on production because your business will be pissed. There's also, let me go into another production one that I have that I feel like showing. Oh, that's awesome. How about dev prod? Nope, not that one. See, I'm using this a lot. There's also another feature, as I said here, don't rename events. So those events are like download and log in and all those. Don't rename them because it skews all of your historical data. You lose it. But there is if you happen to do it or something happens, there is a hide event option in the report feature. So you can say, you know what, hide this event, log out because I screwed up and I spelled it wrong, or log on instead of log in or whatever. So you can't hide this from the business so that they don't know you screwed up, and then they'll never see that event in this list of events that you're sending. Again, team management. Again, let everyone in the business slice and dice the data. The reporting interface is really, really, really easy. You can segment out your users, specific users that are doing things. In this case, I was seeing the logins by district name. And again, this district name came because I was able to pass up that property of district name. So if your mind's spinning right now, that I can't tell you what's going to work for your business or what's important to your business, but anything goes in JavaScript land. If you have it in JavaScript and you know whatever it is about the user and you maybe store it on a session or you put it in a cookie or something, all that stuff you can send up to Mixpanel and report on it later. Oh, this is the best part. Google and Mixpanel play nicely together. Like I said, I could choose to do a Google event and send them an event on mouse over, or I could use Mixpanel. User interaction, Mixpanel is way better. The reporting interface is easier to use. It's way better to configure and set up what the business wants. When the business asks those tough questions, like how many people are going to full site, I can't get that information as easily, and it doesn't have the information the business wants. Like how long did it take for a student to go from here to here? What's the median time of this? And what's the trend of these events? Can't get any of that stuff in Google off of the events. So I use Google Analytics and Mixpanel together. And Google, as you saw, has a great overall summary of all the data that I showed you. And Mixpanel is really great for these specific events. And they even have an A/B testing module that I haven't played with, but they brag about it. And there's other features in here that I didn't talk about, like people. I don't pay for this feature, but it's a feature to track people, insight, and push notifications and all that stuff I don't even do. So, there's retention rate. Show me the people that the first time they do this and then they do this. There's, again, it's not useful for me in my web app, but I'm sure it'll be useful for whatever you guys are using it for. All right, I'm done. 8:30. What questions?
Does Mixpanel have a decent API to write to?
I haven't used it, but I've read the documentation. It's decent. here's the API. From date, to date, what events, where, bucket, I don't even know what that means. So yeah, they have a RESTful API that you can get all your event data. I haven't used it, haven't had a need to do it. 3 years seems like a short amount of time. It seems like you'd probably want to save your data for longer than that. So, yeah, I don't know how they picked 3 years to save your data, but yeah. Yeah, so here, who cares, right? And this one also, as I showed Michael, it has a iOS and Android SDK as well. So if you wanted to do event tracking inside of your native apps, you can do that. And there's other libraries as well. Yeah, good stuff. And that's all I know about web analytics.
So, thank you very much, RJ. And I also should point out, RJ was the person that really got us in this building way back in 2010. So, I was able to applaud for that. That was really, we grew a lot when that happened. So, that was really helpful. So we meet the third Tuesday